The bun is back. It's not really a bun anymore because my hair is too freaking long. Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is gonna be... It's gonna be a video about moving on. It's gonna be a video that I guess to some people may seem very negative, but actually to me personally it's a very uplifting story about me kind of like going from the ugly duckling, if you get what I mean, and turning into the swan. I'm not talking like exterior, I'm talking like inside. I'm kind of like scared about talking about this, but this is basically gonna be my bullying story and what has happened to me and why I many times am really self-conscious, why I'm very insecure, and why I'm still struggling with just feeling that I'm good enough or that I'm okay or that people like me. I've never shared this story with anybody unless we're talking like my parents or my sister or my very like nearest and dearest friends. It is something that I've tried to kind of like stay away from for a very long time because A, I have not known how to go about it, and B, I'm just very insecure about this. I actually feel like hot and cold at the same time. It's a topic that I don't really like to talk about because it gets me back to those same feelings that I had back then when I was bullied, and those feelings are very dark. And just to clear everything, I am not going to be mentioning any names in this video. It wouldn't be fair to them, and I just don't feel like that's the right thing to do. I'm ready to share my story and I'm ready to try to help as much as I possibly can those of you out there who are getting bullied or also the ones who are bullying, because this video is not just for the ones who gets bullied, it's also for the ones who are bullying, because my beliefs are that if you are bullying anybody, if you're mean-spirited to anybody, you're most likely in a very bad place yourself. This video is for everybody, really. It is a video about spreading positivity, sharing a story, and then sharing inspiration and sharing good tips and tricks on how to move on and how to become a healthy and happy and whole person again. So where do we start? I mean, there's a lot of things that I could go through, so I don't even know where to start, but I guess we'll start at the very beginning. I feel like there's two ways of getting bullied. It can be either like the direct bullying, like picking on each other, hitting each other, saying nasty words to each other, or it can be a more indirect way of bullying, which is more like talking behind each other's backs or being mean on the social media things like Facebook. I personally experienced both things, unfortunately. I've always been brought up with thoughts of that you have to treat other people as you want to be treated yourself. That's just always been the way that I've been brought up from my family, and that's just always been my way of thinking. So I've always tried to be nice to people and be a good person. We can't always be that, obviously, but I've tried my best to always be the best version of myself. I've just always been taught not to fight back and not to talk mean about other people or to say mean things or whatever, which is obviously a good thing, but I guess sometimes it's good to stand up for yourself, and I never did that. So it all started when I started in school, and I started in school when I was 5 years old, and the Danish school system is very different to the English or the American school systems. So in Denmark we've got one school from like when we're 5 years old till you are like 15, 16 years old, and you kind of like stay in the same class for all of those years. So you don't go to elementary school, middle school, high school, all of that jazz. You actually stick to one class and one school. Obviously, you're kind of like set in some specific roles, if you get what I mean. I was always the outsider in a way. I was always the one who was different. And it already started when I started in school. I was being bullied at a very young age. I was 5 when I started school, and back then I was bullied for like being way too grown up because I was very well articulated. I was just always very polite, and I know that the reason why I was speaking like that and the way that I was acting was very much influenced by Disney, because I was watching Disney movies every single day. I've always grown up with Disney, so it was a big part of me. I was still imagining being a princess and living on castles and fighting evil and so on. And I guess my classmates were like, hello, are you like that? Come on. We watched like Pippi, and which is like a more like grown-up thing to watch. It's not even grown-up, it's more like with real people, whereas I was watching like cartoon. I was bullied with that, which obviously seems like a little thing, but already from the very get-go, I was the outsider, I was the weird kid. And I come from a very small town. It's not even a city, it's a town where everybody knows everybody, and as soon as you're like the weirdo in school, you're the weirdo and the outsider everywhere. Also, when I was that young, I was also bullied because of the way that I was dressed. My mom, she used to dress me in like velour pants and velour t-shirts and stuff like that, and I guess people just thought that it was way out of style. And I'm like, now I'm thinking like, who's laughing now? Velour is so in, but oh well. And I must say, now this gets very, very emotional, but I was always called the monkey because I love climbing trees. I was a very nature-driven girl. I love being out in the nature. So I was always climbing trees, and I was always like really active. The worst memory that I've got from back then was that we just had like gymnastics. After that, we were obviously getting dressed for normal school again. Then some of my classmates, they decided that it could be fun to lock me in like 2 hockey nets with some strips, and then they would lock me in there, and I would just sit there, and they would point at me and call me monkey, and I couldn't get out because I wasn't big enough. I've always been very tiny, so I wasn't strong enough to lift up the hockey nets to get out, so I was literally stuck there. And that was at the age of maybe 6, 7 years old. It is such a tragic memory to have from that young already, because it was very unnice, and who the hell does that? And after that happening or experience, whatever you like to call it, I actually tried to act more stupid than I was, because I didn't want them to bully me for speaking too polite or being the way that I was or dressing the way that I did or whatever. So I actually tried to be more stupid than what I actually was, in order to, yeah, just to fit in, I guess. And the next couple of years, I actually spent a lot of my time just trying to fit in, trying to wear the right clothes, speak the right way, look the right way, just do everything that they did. I was just not the pretty girl. I was not into that yet. So to me, it was a very foreign way of thinking, and it was so exhausting trying to be that girl. I was still such a child and such a kid in my mind that I was still a Disney princess. I was still playing Pocahontas. And the worst part is that I made my parents buy me clothes that was way too big for me, because I wanted to wear big girls' clothes, you know, like with the right brands and blah, blah, blah. I didn't want to wear like children's size clothes, which was the only thing that I could fit back then. So I was getting and wearing clothes that was way too big for me in order to fit in. And obviously it looked terrible, but it made me feel better, because I thought, okay, then they're not gonna pick on me and what clothes I'm wearing. But obviously that did not work either, because then I was told that I was copying them and that I was trying to be them, and I was such a loser for trying to be them. So as you can hear, I couldn't win. However, when that is said, I luckily didn't go through this alone, and I say luckily in my perspective, because I obviously wouldn't wish this for anybody. But I had some really great friends, especially one who's still my best friend this day to day. We went through these things together. He was also like the theater kid like me. So luckily we were kind of like there for each other, obviously, and we were talking a lot and just helping each other out and tried to have as much fun as possible. And also, obviously, as you know, I had a really supportive family who luckily has always been there for me. And, you know, I talked a lot with them about the things that was going on, but actually I was too embarrassed about telling them actually everything that happened that I didn't. And I remember, this is really crazy, but I actually remember when I was like 12 or 13 years old, I wrote a letter saying that I couldn't do this anymore, that I was breaking down, and that the popular kids, they were ignoring me every single day, and I felt so alone and so hopeless. I just didn't feel like that I was good enough, and I just felt like that I was worth absolutely nothing. And when you're only 12 or 13 years old, that is not the way that you're supposed to feel. I remember my parents, they found that letter and they were like, what the hell is going on, Camilla? And unfortunately, I wasn't at that time strong enough to actually stand up for myself and really tell them what happened. My parents, obviously, because I didn't want to tell them the truth, they couldn't really do too much. And even when they tried to do something, I went to a private school, and even when they really tried to do something and tell my teachers and the principal at the school what was going on, they didn't listen. You would think that a private school would be really much into helping each individual kid because it's a private school, you pay to go there, but they didn't. And not saying that I had bad teachers, because actually I was very happy with my teachers, but when it came to all of the personal stuff and all of the drama and all of the bullying and so on, they just weren't there. They were not able to cope with it, and they did not know what to do. Actually, even sometimes when I talked to my teachers and told them how I felt and what was going on and what had happened, sometimes they would laugh at me, sometimes they would say, oh, you're too touchy, don't be so touchy, don't take it so much at heart, and don't take it so personal, it's not about you, they're just having a bad day, blah blah blah. So their way of coping with me and what was happening in the school was just kind of like brushing it off and kind of like just not really caring about it and taking care of it. And I guess I did that in order to not create any drama or whatever, but it created drama. And ignoring those kind of things and ignoring bullying is definitely not the way to handle it, because it just got worse from then. So my family, they weren't really able to do anything. The school didn't do anything about it, and I couldn't really do anything about it because I was way too scared. Literally, I was scared. I remember many times going to school with like a beating heart because I was afraid of what they were gonna say to me that day, or if they were gonna ignore me, or if they were gonna pick at me or whatever. I was just so freaking scared about what the day would bring. So literally sometimes my heart was like up here just beating so freaking hard because I didn't know what the day would bring and what would happen in school. And also just the boys, they were always after me because I was very late developed when it comes to like my body and so on. So I was always a girl who didn't have any boobs or any bum or anything like that, and obviously that is very hurtful because that was just my body, and still this day today I don't really have big boobs or big booty or whatever. So yeah, I got bullied for the way that I looked as well. Even though that I wasn't called ugly, I was just the late one. Really sad and really sexistic in a way as well. I really feel like that's such a horrible thing to say and to do, especially to younger girls who are already so insecure about themselves and their bodies. But as I said before, luckily I had some really great friends, and my one true best friend, once again the one that I'm still best friends with today, we were both in love with doing musical theater and singing, dancing, acting. We did a lot of acting actually, both in school and outside of school as well. One more thing that we did together where our classmates were horrible, and I'll never ever forget this. We set up an entire play. We set up a musical. We did the Little Mermaid, and we did everything ourselves. We did castings ourselves. I played Ariel, he played Eric, and then we casted other younger kids. We wrote the manuscript ourselves. We did the costumes. We did the scenery, we did the layout. We contacted our local library in order to have that as the venue, and we also contacted the local papers so that they would write an article about us doing that play. But on the big premiere, our classmates decided to all show up just in order to sit and yell and scream and make fun of us. We spent, I think, maybe 2 months planning all of that for them to come and ruin everything. I feel like that we did so many grown-up things back then, but back then they thought that we were very childish, and now I'm like, who the hell was the childish ones? I could come up with so many scenarios where they've been like really horrible and acted so bad towards me and my other friends, but honestly it's not even worth it anymore. One thing that I just really hate myself for is that I didn't stand up for myself more. I was just so insecure, so unhappy about myself, and I didn't believe in myself. And still this day today, when I actually see them or whatever, I get that sickening pit in my stomach that I got every single morning that I had to go to school, because they bring up so many bad and horrible memories. And just knowing that they've still got that kind of like power over me is horrible. When you're surrounded by negativity and negative people, you get negative. Luckily, when I turned 15, I was done with that school. I was like, no more ignoring me, no more talking bad about me, no more disrespecting me. This has to be the start of something new. When I started high school, gymnasium, which is from when you're like 15, 16 till you're like 18, 17, 18. That was when I truly started to find myself. I truly started to heal. I truly started to just do what I wanted to do, dress the way that I wanted to dress, and just talk the way that I wanted to talk. I started truly to be me and started not really to care. And also in those years, actually from when I was like 13 till I was like 20, that was the years when I truly also began dancing like hardcore and doing competitive dancing for real. Luckily in that time frame, I spent a lot of my time dancing and performing and stuff like that. So luckily when I wasn't in school, I had so much fun and so much happiness in my life. So I could kind of like find relief and peace in doing that and doing stuff that I love doing. So it kind of took my mind away from all of the horrible things that was happening in school. That actually gave me so much more courage and so much more time, and once again just courage to truly be myself. When you're around respectful people and people who just accept you for being who you are, you get so much more relief, and just you feel so much more at ease, and you just feel like that you can just be who you are. And I guess all of this leads up to today and how I am today. I am good. I've tried to kind of like forget it and move on with my life, and this day today, luckily thanks to my YouTube channel and thanks to actually having succeeded with some things that I truly have been passionate about, I've overcome my fears and I've become such a wholesome person and just a very happy person. I can truly say that my passions in life, like singing, dancing, acting, and now doing YouTube, it has saved my life. It has saved me as a human being, and that's actually one of the most important lessons that I can teach you guys. If you ever feel low, if you ever feel down, a family and friends are obviously really, really important. Just to have somebody to talk to and to go to. It is so important that you've got people who are there for you and who support you. Don't push people away. Don't try to handle everything yourself. One thing that's so important is to talk to people and tell people how you feel. Because walking around with all of that badness inside of you is just the worst thing you can do, because one day it will burst. As I said, I wrote a freaking sickening letter at the age of freaking 13 where I was just talking about not wanting to be on this earth anymore, and it sounds crazy, but that was what the letter was about. I was so in distress and so done with everything that happened. But also do stuff that you love doing. Many times we get too scared to actually do anything that we kind of like set back, and instead of going forward, and that is not the right way to go, because you're kind of like digging yourself into a really big hole of nothingness. Many times when you get into that really dark place in your life, in that dark hole, it can get more and more difficult to get out again. So definitely, once again, surround yourself with love, but also do the things that you love doing. Bullying is some of the worst things that can happen to a person. It will damage and affect the one who's been bullied for the rest of his or her life. I know that because that's what I'm going through, and that's what I have to deal with for the rest of my life. And if you're now sitting out there watching this video and you're one who's been trying to bully other people, and you may sit with that pit in your stomach right now thinking, oh my god, have I done that? It is never too late to say sorry. It is never too late to turn around. Obviously, the damage, if it has been done, it's been done. But at least for the sake of yourself, your future, and the other person's future, just apologize. Be a good human being. Do what's right. I wish that the people who did those really nasty things to me, I wish that we could have had that conversation. So if you in any way, shape or form, either if you're like the one being bullied or if you're the one who is bullying, if you can talk to each other and kind of like clear the air, definitely do that. That is probably one of the best things you can do. One thing that's really important to remember is that we're all human beings. You don't know what the one bullying is going through back at home or in his or her own life. But once again, it's not an excuse to behave badly. Have the conversation and then hopefully move on. I personally feel like that I started out as a nice, clean, perfect piece of paper. And the older I've gotten and the more bullied I've gotten, the more crushed I've become. And now I've started to unfold again. Luckily, I've unfolded again. But the paper will never ever be 100% clean and unfolded again. Definitely what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I feel stronger and I feel like that I've turned out a better person. But I will always have scars inside of me because of what I went through. So the message behind this video is definitely just to be who you are, surround yourself with people that you love and a loving family, loving friends, and do the things that you love doing. Don't hold back. Don't let anybody tell you what to do. Be who you are and be strong, be bold, be beautiful. We're all supposed to be here. Nobody is not good enough. We're all good enough. We're all perfect in our own imperfect ways, and don't ever forget that. Thank you so much for listening to me and my story. It really means the world to me, and even though it's been really hard, it's also a relief to talk about it and to get it off my chest once again. And if you guys feel like sharing your story, please do. I would love to hear your stories and let's have a chat about it. Let's have a nice and positive conversation in the comment section about how to move on and how to deal with bullying, and let's be there for each other. We're one big family, our little chameleon family here. I'm here for you, and just know that I love you guys very, very much, and I will always be there. Mwah. Bye.